Not only boars come to the cities of Israel, the predators approach to the deserted places too. These red foxes are drawn by the lockdown to the streets of Ashkelon, an ancient port city. They even are not afraid of humans filming them. And these fox cubs visited beaches on Toronto. There were some people in the area, and they of course started filming them, but the little creatures seemed to pay no attention to them. They got so used to roaming along the deserted beaches that even people coming back after the lockdown didn't frighten them. Flamingos near the outskirts of Mumbai is a rather typical thing. They fly to the region each year from October to March, but during lockdown, the size of the flocks impressed people greatly. Among the huge flocks are two different species, greater flamingos and lesser flamingos. Sometimes they cover all the surface of the water bodies. The numbers have increased by almost a third when compared to normal. The empty streets of Mumbai also become attractive to this lonely peacock roaming freely without any fear. But this bird is not the only one. Peacocks from time to time appear in Gujarat, Bangalore, Delhi, and other big cities of India. They show all their beauty to the residents and don't even feel shy to search for food. And this time, the deserted streets of Paris attracted several wild ducks. They also wanted to walk around the most romantic city in the world. They visited the most popular tourist attractions both in day and nighttime. Hope they enjoyed the walk. Nature takes great advantage of the lockdown all around the world. Popular tourist beaches in South Thailand have been deserted because of the quarantine, letting the turtles lay their eggs in peace. Leatherback sea turtles need darkness and areas without movement to lay their eggs. This condition is almost impossible during holiday season. But now there are no tourists on the beaches, so the little turtles are appearing in great numbers. In Argentina, groups of sea lions decided to take advantage of the absence of locals to occupy the commercial center of Mar del Plata port. The places that had been covered by people some time ago now were taken by the seals, basking in the sun outside souvenir shops and cafes. This nice nilgai was noticed roaming freely near the mall in Noida. The area is one of the busiest places in the region due to several malls. Usually it's overcrowded by people, but not now. The graceful animal was calm and even wasn't frightened by dogs barking. Incredible things also happened. A critically endangered animal, Malabar civet, endemic to the western Ghats of India, had not been seen since 1990 in the area. For the first time after such a long break, it appeared during lockdown in the Calicut town of Kerala. Gorgeous deer suddenly came to the empty streets of Paris, looking around in surprise. The unusual scene took place around Boissy-Saint-Leger. This bear came out of the woods in the northern region of Asturias in Spain. Empty streets were so appealing to the dangerous cutie that he couldn't help checking them out in search of food. And these nice little goats were really happy playing in the children's playground. They were seen entering on a merry-go-round in some town yard. I think they had great fun. Wild turkeys that almost forgot about Thanksgiving Day were spotted in West Oakland, California. The birds were just roaming around the residential area, eating grass on the lawn. Not only land animals are trying to take the benefits from the lockdown, marine creatures are also doing the same. In Scotland, a pod of orcas was captured on camera near Thurso. They're usually hanging out near the much quieter Shetland Islands, but the drop in the number of boats on the water was likely to encourage these beauties to explore new waters. And at the end, look at this outstanding view. Drone caught the footage of a herd of 30 dugongs in shallow waters off Lebong Island in Trang province of Thailand. Human interference and marine pollution made dugong sightings in southern Thailand extremely rare in recent years. But lockdown has changed everything. I really hope you enjoyed the video as I did, because it shows that nature is awaking after a rather long period of unpleasant sleep. Let's hope after the lockdown is lifted, it'll go on feeling better. If you want to learn more about the relationships between animals and humans, visit the Animal Like People channel. You'll find a lot of curious and fascinating videos there. See you! Hi there! It's not a secret that lockdown influenced not only humans, but animals too. The streets in cities and towns became empty. As for touristy places, they turned into a calm and deserted spot. But the holy place is never empty. And the animals rushed off to the free areas. Even now, when some countries are gradually going out of the quarantine, animals don't want to leave newly occupied territories. Look at this perky kangaroo that rushed to walk around the city while it was deserted. The police shared this video on their Instagram, joking they were pursuing the suspect in great code. Being headless during its trip, the animal almost bumped up against the car. Frightened, the creature leapt towards the parklands and the outskirts of the city. And this huge unexpected guest appeared in the center of a Nepal town. The enormous rhino was slowly stepped along the street, frightening rare passersby. He even decided to visit the zoo. Maybe he was looking for more company, wasn't he? Let's hope he didn't do any harm. Monkeys are the most frequent visitors to the cities and towns of the regions these primates live. For example, in India, when the streets became empty from cars, the monkeys felt these territories are ready for them coming. Dozens of them roam the deserted streets of New Delhi and other cities of the country. In Thailand, the situation is even worse. Monkeys, which had got used to millions of tourists visiting the country and feeding them, couldn't make out why people stopped doing it. The crowds of animals took up the whole streets in the cities, trying to find food. But this stuff also happens in Europe. For instance, this footage is from London, where deer have taken over deserted East London streets during lockdown. The animals are attracted by juicy grass on the lawns near the houses. They calmly relax there, and posing to the cameras of the people living in the neighborhoods. The same situation took place in Wuhan, the place where the virus had come from. Nara deer lived happily in the parks of the city, being taken care of and well fed by tourists. But the tourists vanished, and the poor creatures came out into the streets in search of food. Not only deer, but wild goats decided to visit towns of European countries. These herds of the Kashmiri goats came down from the Great Orme, the limestone headland on the north coast of Wales, to the northwest of the town of Llandudno. Many years ago, these goats were a gift to Lord Mostyn from Queen Victoria. But now they live in the wild. But with only few people out, the creatures have been drawn into Llandudno in the search of food. Poor flower beds and park plants. Here, one more group of grass-loving animals that came to the human territories. Not group, but the enormous herd of sheep was spotted on the roads of the Turkish city of Samsun. Without any cars, the herd could freely flow along the street. Just imagine, you are sitting in your car driving on business along the road in one city in Florida, and suddenly you see this thing out the window. An amazing alligator is slowly moving along the street. Is he going on a visit to someone? But not only big-toothed reptiles decided to walk along the cities, big-toothed cats also do the same thing. A wild puma was spotted roaming the streets of the Chilean capital, Santiago. Chilean authorities tranquilized the cat and set it free in the wild far from the city. It's the second time the creature came to this place. Several days before, it was seen roaming along the streets in the search of food like an ordinary domestic cat. This happened in the USA. Wild coyotes are taking advantage of lockdown restrictions in San Francisco and roam freely while the city's population remains mostly indoors. These creatures inhabited the territories up to the beginning of the 20th century, but then humans forced them from these lands. But now, the song dogs seem to have come back. In this footage, taken by San Francisco photographer Scott Oler, a coyote is seen exploring Kirby Cove, a beach area. Here, the animal saw some whale bones on the beach at Kirby Cove and came down to investigate. When during lockdown, people vanished from the street to the coastal city of Haifa, wild boars decided this was their glory hour. The creatures appeared fearless in packs, with their cubs digging through the rubbish bins and running side by side with them. This caused a lot of troubles in the parks and residential areas. They get in people's gardens and damage vegetation. The residents of the city are not really happy about these guests.